I feel like I'm in a rut where I can't complete anything, and yeah, I could come back to, like, you can come back to stuff, and then in the next year you already want to add to it, kind of like upgrading your technology. It's like already obsolete the next year, and you could very easily fix it. You add a little color or some kind of symbolic element, and it kind of makes the painting up to date. The problem is, if you start to get into that rut, then you're always trying to update these paintings, and it never ends. You're always rethinking them and symbolize and mythologizing them and stuff, and it gets too cerebral, and then they start to break down. Then all of a sudden they get in full circle where the fresh thing that they started with just doesn't make any sense anymore, and it's kind of like derailed the painting in a way. I find it gets complicated that way. So you need to be producing a whole bunch. And yeah, what was the one other idea I had? So by producing a whole bunch, then the stragglers can come back into play. But I've never really had that opportunity yet. But yeah, so it's kind of like I feel like I'm in a rut where intellectually I'm starting to question and doubt myself. It's like, can I finish anything? But then I'm like also saying, yeah, you can. You just need that money part, like, so that you can produce a whole bunch and get more. Like, you need to get out of that rut. You need to just like be producing, doing a lot, and then calling a whole bunch good and done. And then of that, like, once you have more that are done, then you're kind of more comfortable to say, yeah, those are done, those are good enough. And like, maybe some of them aren't totally in a way, but you can, like, once you sell them or don't sell, sell them or call them complete, like, basically then you have to turn them over, and you can't. So, but that puts a little bit of a deadline on you, and you have to get it done at that point. So it's all that helps. Oh, and that was the other thing. So that idea, it's like a bit of a concern, but I really don't feel like it's a concern. I feel confident about that. But the other thing is this is kind of the biggest point of it all, is not the fact that I've so bravely or magnificently done it all without a single red cent. No. What is the thing that I cannot get through people's head is like, all this is fine. All this great big explanation, all this stuff is fine. But the whole biggest thing is that the irony is that I've been confident all along, and like, certain people have really supported me from day one. You could say, like mom and stuff, like intellectually, and that is where the real support comes from. Like, certain people that have supported you in reality, not just like giving you a bunch of money or something. But of course, mom and dad supported me in that way too, my whole life. Like, they raised me and provided for me and stuff like that. So, there's that support. But I mean, like, when people support you, like, emotionally, that's the big thing. It's like, that's huge, and how many great artists needed their mom, right? And but what I'm saying is that I can't finish anything because I've never got the demand. Whenever I produce stuff online, I get lots of positive feedback, but no one's dishing out the dollars. And I don't have an agent, doing my legwork. Like, I got no bars. Like, I got zero demand for all these years. And like, it's so frustrating because it's like I have to beat into the world's head what fine arts is, and it's like get them through all the hurdles and all the misconceptions all the time. So basically, it's like it takes a whole lifetime to do that. It's like you have to be a great teacher of art, not just a painter. You have to be a great teacher of art to like pretty much reshape and mold the whole world to get where you're at. Now, it shouldn't be that hard. But because of where I live or whatever, and certain things about my personality and my past and certain things that have come up, then it's become this great big thing. And I kind of wonder, it's like, it's never going to happen. It's just like shit got too complicated, missed the boat, you know, it's just like whatever. But anyway, what I'm just saying though is that I've never had any buyers. And so like what I'm saying is that in the last 10 years I've done lots of art. It's been a decade now where I've done lots of serious art. And in that time, I've been like really, really aware that it's like I am not getting any bites whatsoever, and that like I get lots of fancy encouragement on the internet, but what I get is like no serious people that understand art that go, yeah, like this is, like I do have some friends or family that do, but like I basically, you could say practically zilch, not a single person that's just going, dude, yeah, this is like, this is sellable, this is like, this is happening. Yeah, it's not really ahead of the times. It's actually totally on the edge where art should be. It's like it's with it, and everyone else is not with it. So it's like it's at a certain point you're like, dude, people get with it, and people always think you're like trying to get them to start to believe all these crazy ideas, and they're not really sure if they're ready. And it's like, no, dude, believe me, this is the scene. This is where it's at right now. I know what's going on in the market. The market itself, if you stick your own head in there, you'll see. And then you'll come back to me and you'll go, your stuff is kind of like right on the money. Like this is exact, and it's been that way for 30 years. I had a lot of positive response when I was in university, and nothing's changed since. Like I've been keeping abreast with the times all this time, but I've never had any money coming in, or never any ability to do it. And then that was okay. But then when I start to get so much opposition spiritually in the last 25 years, so much opposition, like I could barely survive life, never mind do art. Like people just had it out for me, like every single person, friends, family, is just like, and all along I've had great relationships, tons of family and friends, and lots of support and so much love, the best life anyone could ever ask for. It's not a tragedy. But people that actually understand the art, zilch, you know, like I can count on my hands how many people are around me that are just going, yeah, what you're doing, what you're producing. Like some people kind of get it, but the thing is that you don't really get it because no one's given me just like nothing. And it's like, I'm not trying to say that it's that you're giving me nothing, that anyone should be giving me. That's not my point. What my point is this, is that at a certain point the art stops, and as an artist, you know, like I need, like this is the idea that I keep going back to, is that you can't get through to people how much of art is like a business. So I got big business rolling, but it's like it's not just having a client. Like people think, oh yeah, then you need to get an agent, a client. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that people are just, they're not with it. And because of the certain position that I'm in and where I'm at, I'm in a rock and a hard place. It's like I can't move. But again, that's not my point. My point is that I can't finish anything because I don't have the demand. I need the demand. I need the demand before I can finish anything, because the demand means I need the money. Like the art stops, I need the money. Now, like I keep saying, I've been doing the art for 30 years without any money. It's never stopped. You know, everyone's got advice for you. It just never stops. People always have, well, you can find a way. Believe me, I've found a way, and I gladly do it. And I'll paint and make art my whole life with or without money, because I've already been doing it for my whole life. But then they go off on like starving artist, and then all this tragic, and then like artists thrive of pain, and just the endless cliches and bullshit. None of the masters and none of the living masters They're not on that wavelength. That's just a bunch of cliche bullshit. None of it's true. It's more like, you understand sports, that's what art is like. You know, it's just like, you get the way it all works, right? Like when you watch hockey, when you watch football, like you get the way it all works, right? And art is no different. There's the big league, international art scene, you know, like there's the NHL or the NFL, and that's the scene with art. And it's like, sorry, you don't, like, I don't really know, like, just to tell you what it's like, I don't know anything about the NFL or the NHL. Yeah, I can see a soccer game or hockey game, but I don't know anything about the big league. I have no idea who's in there, I don't know what all the rules are of all these different sports. I know nothing, but I do. Whereas you don't know that about art. So all I'm just saying is to point out the fact that you don't know anything about art, but I know about your guys' stuff, whether it's sports, whether it's science, or any other field. I know about all those, but none of you know jack shit about art in that way. Like if I said, tell me a little bit about the NHL or the NFL, you'll say, well, it's like operates like this, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I get it. And so you got these like different people that are kind of like big names and players, and you know, and it's exactly the same with art. It's exactly like that. So it's like, it's not like you're in dream world. It's like, you know, like if you're close to the NHL, like you know where you stand if you're a player, right? Like you know what league you're in, and like you kind of, like you know the whole thing, unless you're a complete brain dead fool. Like you obviously know where you're at, you know? It's not like some sort of like vague mystical science or something that nobody gets. That's not the way art is. It's just like, it's like in big league international sports, exactly the same thing, or science, you know, or any other field. It's like that. So at a certain point, I need the demand, and I have interest. Interest is more important, but the interest has come and gone, and people get onto other things, and that's not enough. Like I need the demand. I don't need all the agents. I don't need clients. I just need the demand. Like kind of almost intellectually or philosophically. Not for me, not to be able to finish it. So it's not like I can't. Like what I'm saying is that the demand equals the money. So like I need people to give me commissions. Like I need 10,000 commissions for the next 20 years. You know, like I need commissions. And then, you know, like maybe people are then supplying the paints or whatever, and it's like, I'll do as much art as you want. Like I am Michelangelo. Hire me is what I'm trying to tell y'all. You know, it's like, believe me, I know what I'm doing. But it's like people just think, oh, he thinks he's Michelangelo, and then the idea's all done. It's like, no, actually, I am that big. I've been telling people for 15 years, 20 years, I am that big. But okay, so what does it really look like? I am that big, but maybe I'm not. I'm just kind of like a casually successful, but not like a regional hobby painter. No, not like that. I'm an international level painter that is very significant and important on that level, or none at all. Like I'm not saying that I'm so important, but it's kind of like in the eyes of those that don't get it, it's like kind of like I'm trying to tell you I'm Michelangelo, but like I could give you many names of like big league people earning 6-figure wages, or slightly under or slightly over, you know, and like, but that's not really where that's not really what I'm That's not really what I'm talking about. I'm saying that there is some people that are kind of like in the successful parts of the trade, but maybe not in the real big bracket, but in the next tier down. You know, it's not like they're ever going to be really household names. But if you look behind the scenes a little bit, their names will definitely come up. You know, so that's what I'm talking about. Like, that would be the sweet spot that I've wanted to be in my whole life. I just wanted to be, you know, like just like a family man and have a successful painting career and just like have my cake and eat it. It didn't seem like that big of a dream at the time, but now I see that that is the biggest dream of all. It's like you don't really want to be a superstar. You just want to be a successful rock and roll singer. That's it. But what I'm saying is that I don't have that demand. That's the missing ingredient. It's like I kind of made do without the demand. It was never really that important to me. It was just like I'm serious enough that it was literally only about the art for many, many years. But now it's like what I'm trying to say is that it requires that, and without that, that part of it just never happens. It never comes to fruition or whatever. But even that I can accept then. So it is what it is. You know, like maybe it just never gets off the ground. But now going back to where this really derailed. So it's like, that's all okay. But basically what's not okay is that in all this craziness, I literally have so few finished pieces. Now recently I had a few no, I'm glad I didn't say that word because I have to be careful about what I say. I had a few very small canvases. And I literally kind of undertook, I didn't have them in my possession for a long time. Then it's like I kind of got them and then I didn't have them again or something. Like it was like you know, I kind of was worried about them for a while. And then they, because I didn't have them, and I was like, man, I wish I had all my small works. And I've told people about them before. It's like I had a whole body of small works. And that body was important because I've never had anything, you know, I've only had a little bit of money to do a few bigger ones. So the bigger ones are real few and far between, but that body of small ones was real important because it was kind of like a done body of recent small works. But if they were very small, and it's like kind of frustrating. I always wanted to keep that as that body of work. That was the very small ones, and kind of like treasure that and take care of it because it stood up on its own as like a certain size, like they're all around a foot or whatever. And so it's like they're not like micro small, but they're all around that, like the almost the smallest size. But to me, what's interesting is sometimes small works have a bigger. They almost represent something bigger than their own reality. But generally small works are kind of like small works and they're more intimate or whatever. But these ones are kind of important because they are kind of operated on either level. But anyway, because I had to let them sit and a lot of them came out at that original new painting burst. And then because it sat and then I look back and a lot of them it's like, yeah, but I kind of want to revamp the whole thing in a way, but I almost never do that. Like once they are done to that level, then I almost don't touch them, you know, so they kind of were done. But then there was a few where like I kind of decided that there was like maybe 3 or 4 of them that I was gonna do what I wanted to do, and like almost specifically I said I'm gonna finish these. I'm just gonna go ahead, like I almost like I took a safety picture of them all just to say, okay, that was done that way and that was good, and I recorded that, but now I'm gonna like really kind of go in there and just really kind of like do a whole nother layer and finish it, and like where I think it needs to be to catch up with the times. And to catch up with the big learning curve that I did in the last recent while. So that's another important thing here. I went through this big learning curve in the last little while. So it's like I have tons of stuff to finish. But I'm not going to go through everything and finish it up to that level. But certain things, like a certain percentage, like 25, 10, maybe 5%, I don't know how much, I'm going to kind of totally revamp and bring up to the modern times. So that at least some of it is kind of like totally current, because that would be cool to do that, plus then doing a whole bunch of new stuff, then those ones, but then a lot of the other ones left as is, no problem. But so these were like a first run at taking a few, and just still they're so small, and you know, it's just like I have so little to work with, and even I didn't have much time. Like I just go and I just like do a little bit here and there every day, like a little scribble on them. But there was 2 or 3 that I kind of really brought up to the modern age. Like I brought up to the current times of that whole batch. Because, you know, like I said, I have very little complete, but that whole batch kind of seemed like it was like one body that I have that's complete. But they kind of, with time and this, with a little bit, you know, almost, you know, 5 getting on 10 years has passed. So time to reflect on and just go, no, plus this big recent learning curve just made me go, a bunch of those just they're not quite strong enough. I don't really like to rework them, but I'm going to take those 2 or 3 and I'm kind of going to do a certain mindset. Like I'm going to like kind of pretend like I sacrificed them, like they were good as they were, but I'm going to, so I use this kind of strategy to just go in there like those 2 or 3 I'm going to finish. And they're going to be, like, it doesn't matter how small they are, they're only like 1 foot each. Okay, but those 3 I'm going to finish. So out of this so-called finished batch, which is out of another so-called finished batch, which is small, then there's this so-called finished batch that's really small. And then out of that, 3 are like really actually finished. So I have 3 works, you know, in 10 years that are finished, practically. But I could scale it up and I could say, well, so there's those 3, but remember that group that you did there and there and there, and I could say, okay, well, there was 3 there, but they're still on, no, those were finished, but they were on the paper, or on card, or whatever. You know, I'll start to say, well, those were on canvas, that group, but then they're not as strong. The ones on paper are stronger, but in like, so the ones that are presentable are not as strong. The ones that are stronger are not presentable. So no, check all the boxes once again. No, all the way down. So what do I got? In the last 10 years of this huge burst of paintings that I've been doing for the last 10 years, I got 3. 3 finished works that are only 1 foot big. Nothing. I got nothing. So in all, like in 30 years, I got nothing finished. I sold a few right in the first years when I was in university, probably because of the help of the university community, you know, and the vast kind of network that I was involved in at the time. So I got nothing. 30 years, a vast body of work, but nothing finished except these 3. So I He had done three small paintings in 30 years of art. You know what? Somebody stole those 3 paintings. Somebody stole those 3 paintings. It's like, do you realize that each one of those paintings represents 10 years of like hard labor as an artist? Like, those are the only 3 finished works I have to say. None of you have supported me. None of you have given me a red cent. I've joyfully, passionately done my art for 30 years. Never held a grudge against anyone for not supporting me. Just quietly, diligently, faithfully done my art for 30 years. Never had a red cent. Never had paints. Although Mom gave me a lot of stuff, was very generous to me, and a couple other people have been very generous towards me at certain times, and you know, like some people have like purchased stuff or whatever, like, you know, been very supportive, generous, or interested or whatever. Yes, absolutely, that's made a huge difference in those times. That gave me the few little things I had to work with. And I took those inches and I ran them for miles and miles and miles and miles. And I like to paint generously. Like, I like to waste paint. But I still figured out ways to make it happen. I took those inches that were given to me and I made them go for miles for 30 years. But basically no demand, no money coming in, no income. I just did it all out of my own pocket, and there was nothing in my pocket, but I did it. But in all those years, and that was okay, but then in all the later years where I had all this spiritual warfare against me and all these misunderstandings and stuff, like where people basically were killing me and destroying me constantly for the last 20 years, with so much opposition from every level on high spiritual levels, because I became public enemy number 1. I became the greatest anathema, because when you're so good you become the worst enemy, and that's exactly what I was. People totally misunderstood me, and like I barely scrape by, and to this day they still think I'm a weirdo because I ride my bike everywhere. It's like, dude, don't you realize that I was the true one? I was the good one. I was the authentic one. And to this day, I still suck it up and I bike around instead of driving when I don't have a car. And I still do these things that people have gotten so used to that they think I'm this kind of weirdo. It's like, no, I'm not a weirdo. It's like, you're the fucking weirdos. But I lived the real, true deal. So now I kind of look like a bit of a freak and a weirdo. But I'm not the freak and the weirdo. It's like, you people better get your shit together, because God has given me a place in life. And when I break through, but you all know you never have anything to worry about me. That's why you've taken advantage of me. But when I break through, I'm going to do it right. You know, it's like, I'm going to be the philosopher king, the good king, for a change. And I'll show you that it's very possible. It's not a pipe dream to be the man in charge and to be a righteous dude. But you guys don't seem to understand that or have any faith or belief in that. But anyway, that's the way that the world is so screwed up and jaded, that the world has gone so far away from when I was a young man that I just like cannot even really like, it just boggles my mind now. It's like, I feel like sometimes I'm just trying to teach the world to be the same way it was when I was like 20 years old. Like, where the world loved me. It's like, why am I spending this colossal amount of energy to retrain the whole world to like love me again? It's just like, I should just be actually doing my art. You know, like, it's like I have to reverse the spin of the whole earth. That is basically what I have to do with my life. And then at the end of the day, maybe there's a little bit of time to actually paint, you know. But 3 works. There is one saving grace. I am just okay. I just hardly have any strength left, but I in this because it's so bloody frustrating and annoying. Is that I almost commend that somebody took those 3, because if you really wanted to bust my balls, you sure did it. And if you didn't want to do that, you sure know your shit. Because those 3 were done as done can be. Yet they were small enough to steal and think you could get away with it. But those 3 little paintings are the only paintings I've got done in all these years. Because, like I said, because of all those outside complications, that's the one luxury, the one sweet promised land that I've never been able to get into. Is I've had to set aside not having a demand for 30 years, waiting till later in life when people get up to speed with me and go, oh, okay, and then it happens really fast, right? Of course, we all know. It happens explosively because you've been working for 30 years producing all this stuff, and but then when it becomes viral, or it doesn't become viral, maybe it doesn't, but I'm telling you, with art, there's more substance than the shit that does go viral. And when art goes viral, it really makes a big impact. Not like some silly little video that goes viral that has hardly anything. It just like, it has maybe a little hair that tickles people. That's how much substance it has. But because that hair tickles every person, it goes frickin' totally viral, right? Well, art is a bit more substantial than that. When art goes, well, yeah, not always. On the internet, it could be that just that superficial, yes. But real art in the big league, art that lasts, art that gets into the real big levels, no. It's got substance on some level, like big time. Whether it's experience or whether it's a major, powerful, like presence of some kind, whatever it is, like there's something very major involved in that happening, and that doesn't just blow over right away. There's a kind of substance to that, and that's what I'm talking about. But like maybe that viral thing doesn't ever happen in my life, and it doesn't, my art doesn't go quote unquote viral, but that somebody took those 3, that they went in that box and they literally knew which 3 were the ones that I repainted. And or did they like those more? Because it's like they should have, because it's kind of like the other ones were privy to that exact same thing that I've said, that it's like I see them and I know them, and with all this hindsight and with all the the learning curve here, and then maybe a couple smaller learning curves, and the like the sort of epiphany stage and all the complexities, all the different things, I realize that these 3 were like, it's like on these 3, okay, I'm doing it, like I'm practicing now for the big league. Like it's like, okay, I should be working, like why? I kept saying, like, dude, you're like, these 3 canvases, you're like, the way every time I was working on them, I was like, these should be like 4 by 6 feet each. But like I've been kind of saying, I say that to myself now, and then I'm like, dude, like don't keep working on this small one, on this little piece of paper. But I have to finish every idea, so every idea gets that treatment. Like every drawing, every scrap gets that idea. Like it's not every painting is kind of done in a way, but then there's like done and sellable. Like there's done and then there's like done and out of the house, like gone, like into the big league. That's a bit of a different thing, because I think there's a different energy there. That's kind of what I'm trying to say too. There's like a different energy. It's hard to explain. You can see it crystal clear if you're the artist, but it's kind of hard to explain if you're not into the scene. But there's just a bit of a difference. But these 3, it's like I'm just like going in there and I'm like, okay, you know what? You got no choice. You got to do it. And whatever, who cares if they're small? Maybe you're going to be the small paintings guy, even though I've always wanted to be big. But then I said, okay, well, if I'm going to be small, I'm going to be really small, because really small has more power. You know, it's like I always have to figure out these strategies, because it's like I really want to paint big and I need to paint big, and you're supposed to paint big. Like, that's the whole way you do it. You know, when you're in the big league, you got to paint big. Otherwise, you can't do it. It just doesn't work. So I'm doing that reluctantly on 3. But I'm like, dude, you are so in a rock and hard place. Like, literally, those 3 canvases, just do it. Like, you just got to. Because you got, like, nothing else to work on. It's like, you can't just sit around and wait forever, and you've even done that. You've tried anything and everything. You've done everything, and you do everything. You just, like, there is no things that you can't, there's no things you do or don't do. It's just like, you've done it all in 30 years. Believe me, that's like a lifetime. So these 3, I'm like, okay, this is kind of the new school that I'm at. Like, it's taken me 30 years to get to this level, where it could have taken maybe like 3 or 4 years if I'd buckled down more seriously and stuck to it like I planned back then. But it's taken me actually 30 years, and so it's like after 5 or 10 years, it takes you way longer, because you have to come back and get back into it and all this stuff. So it ends up taking 30 years instead of 3 or 4. But like these 3 or 4 pictures, I'm like, okay, I just do it and I rock it out, and I'm like, this is what's going on. You know, like, now I'm like, my head is totally in the right space. It's the pendulum has gone this way and that way and this way and that way and this way and that way, and it's like, okay, now I'm kind of like back on track. So that somebody took those, it's like, it just proves exactly what I'm saying. Like, they thought they could get away with those 3. I'm like, dude, those 3 are like hot items, you know? Like, you just found 3 little canvases up there in a shelf, just sitting there all by their lonesome, hey? And they're like, you know what? I kind of like these 3. Yeah, exactly. Because you know what the philosophy was behind those 3? I'll tell you what the philosophy was behind those 3 paintings you stole. The philosophy was, at this point in my career, I need to make paintings so good. And this is how a master paints. That when people find these paintings randomly, it doesn't matter where they are, what heap of shit they're in. When people find those paintings, they won't be able to throw them out. They won't be able to throw them out, because they'll look at them, and it doesn't matter who they are, and they'll say, you know what, there's something about this picture or these 3 pictures. There's those other ones, but these 3, there's something about them. Like, you know what? These could be worth something, but I don't think they probably are. But you know what? I can't get rid of them, because there's something about them that's like, look at it, like, there's something like that. That just kind of looks cool, or like, that is cool, or like, actually, I freaking love that, or whatever. And it's like, it took me 30 years to get there, brah or sister. It took me 30 years to get to that point of like saying, you know what, how you really want to protect your art, how you really want to be a master, is be a fucking master. You fucking master that painting. You paint a painting that people need to put on their wall, because it looks really cool, and they lust after that picture being on their frickin' wall. They're like, man, this would look good on my wall. Like, this is really witty and cool and sensual. Like, this looks cool. I could not throw this out if I wanted to. I don't care if it's free or whatever. It's like, this is going in a dumpster. No, I can't throw this out, man. I'm putting this on my wall. And it's like, it took me 30 years to get to that point. It's like, that's when a painting's done. Okay, that's why it's so hard for me to finish a painting. Because, like, yeah, you can rock out that level when you got the money coming in and you have the time to do that all the time. But I don't have that time and money. So it's very rare that, like, it literally took me 30 years to be able to finish 3. Okay, now, you know, good thing you made off with those 3, because now I'm going to be rocking out 3 every 3 days. Or, you know, like once a week I'll be kind of doing that now. that I'm in the big league. But what I'm saying is that that's kind of the level you need to get at, where your art talks for itself. Because I can't explain enough to people, but all y'all know what's great music when you hear it, and all y'all know what great art is when you see it. But do you really? No, because you just took those 3 paintings and you didn't really think. But you know what? It proves you know great art just as well as me, except I'm the one that made it and you're the one that stole it. All that work and all that insult in my face, all that opposition to me, all that making fun of me, all that stuff that I just suck it up, no big deal, I just plug away at my thing, and then you steal the 3 pictures that are quote unquote done. Now there's a bunch others, and you just stumbled into 3 of the little small guys and you thought you could just steal them. But doesn't it exactly prove what I'm saying? And like I said, that saving grace is, I'm just like kind of applauding your good taste in a way. I'm applauding, like once someone stole a painting before and I was like, man, that's cool that they stole my art. I'm almost like, you know, like that's almost like a compliment, right? Because you stole it. So it's like, yeah, welcome to that club. But this is different. This, like that was 30 years ago when I was starting out. Practically. And this is like, I've been through thick and thin, like through all kinds of shit. And those 3 paintings, like I was so glad to get that box of paintings back finally. And those 3, like I would just like, having finished them, I would at least like to be able to kind of like I just finished them. And to me, they're important because they represent, like, I don't care actually, you know what? But it's just like, it would be nice to at least see them once again so that I could know my next move. Like, they're kind of my takeoff point. Like, I really feel like that's where I'm at, you know? Like, that's kind of, it took me so long to get to this point, and it's like they're just the beginning of what I'm doing now. So in a way they don't really matter, but it's nice to see your work. Like the biggest thing I think is that it's nice to see your work like a few months after. It's also like it's nice to see things that seem successful when they're done, kind of, than to see them the next day. Or just like it's always nice to see stuff the next day. That kind of seems to be interesting. But definitely if it seems like it's done, then you look at it and then you kind of get certain ideas about like, yeah, it is, it isn't still, or whatever. But then like if it maybe seems like it is or isn't, and you see in a few months, it's kind of nice because then you can see if it was or wasn't, and then you can go do something. But it's especially nice if it's kind of like you really thought, yeah, this is finally done, and you kind of know it, and then you come back in a few months and it's kind of like there's a special reward because that's the one time maybe, because you are going to part ways with those. Those are probably the ones you are going to part ways with, you know. So you can come back once after a few months when it's time to give it up, and you kind of look at it and you say, yeah, that's kind of cool. Like that, like I'm glad that worked out, because you know it's like nice to see that something worked out after all this effort, and you kind of like you knew you had it in you all along, but then it's kind of like a special reward when you get to be the audience for a second to see that for a few months before it parts. Well, you know, you took that away from me, but it's like it's kind of still in there. It's just like what, you know, like what are you doing to my little babies, so to speak? But it's not really that. It's just that it's so, the part that bothers me the most is that you think that I miss those paintings. Like I don't notice those 3 little paintings. And now I've just about gone on for 3 hours talking about what those paintings are. Feels like it's like that's The whole thing. That's how hard it is to get it through to people's heads. 30 years. And it's only getting worse in our day and age. It's like 30 years later and I'm just getting my head above the ground. Or I'm just, coming up for air. It's not like the problem is over. But anyway, you pretty much proved that, but it's like 30 years to, like, it wasn't supposed to take 30 years to explain what I'm trying to do to people. But the problem is, at some point I realized that 30 years is a generation. And because I didn't launch the ship in the first few years where I should have, I got stuck in the transformation of a whole nother generation, where everything in a way has changed. But with art, some things never changed. Like some things in life, everything changes. Like art changes very quickly, and it also never changes in a way. Art, capital A, art. I think I can quantify that statement, at least anyways, if I was given the time to do so. But let's not get into that right now. But let's just say maybe it's like a type of godliness. God is anything and everything and never changes at the same time, And art probably takes after God a little bit. But I wish it's like that point where you realize you took too long to do something, and then it's gonna take frickin' forever. And maybe never. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you go, man, I missed the boat, and now it's just gonna take forever. I wish I said that to myself about 25 years ago. 5 years in on this 30-year hiatus or whatever. Like, I wish at that point, it's gonna take forever to do what you're doing, because you're gonna have to get the world to spin in a whole different direction practically, just to be able to look at you and not want to murder you or something. It's just like, oh my gosh, it's like you're gonna be fighting for your very life and breath, never mind succeeding as an artist. Like this video is becoming rather interesting, or this little podcast is becoming rather interesting, because it's like the whole gamut is coming out here. That 30 years, I've seen a generation go by. But that's what, that's what I'm talking about. What I was like, because I want to conclude with anger for once, not, like, the part of just like somebody finding that box very organized up there, and them thinking that somebody put my art nicely in there for me, drives me frickin' crazy. Like, you're gonna bleed for that mistake when I figure out who the fuck you are. Okay? Because if you don't think that was me putting those things neatly and carefully in there, you obviously haven't listened to this fucking 3-hour fucking lecture about the last 30 years. And it's not that long, but it's getting there fast.